Hello everyone, hope you're all doing great. In this video, we'll see two very popular Excel functions, SUMIF and its close friend, SUMIFS. As the name says, these functions are useful when you need to sum a range of values, but you need to take into account only a small subset of those values, based on one or more specific conditions. As usual, in this video, we'll see how SUMIF and SUMIFS work by going through some practical examples. We're going to use, once again, our security database, with a list of securities in column A, two columns for the category of the security and the country where the security headquarters is located. The value corresponds to how much was owned by Warren Buffett at the end of 2020. Let's say we want to see how much Warren Buffett invested in communication securities. We could easily do that with a pivot table, but here we're assuming that we want to get some quick answers right here in the database. To do so, let's scroll to the bottom of the database and we write communications here. Okay, and here we write some if, and we can, as usual, complete the formula by selecting it from the suggestions with the arrows and completing it with the tab key. Okay, first we need to input the range. We need to specify the range of cells that we want to access. In our case, we want to check the categories. So we select from row 2 and shift control and the down arrow key, we select until UPS. Okay, comma. Next, criteria. We need to write the criterion for the selection. In our case, we want to sum only communications securities. So we can either write communications here in quotation marks, or better, we can select cell B50, comma, and finally we need to specify the range of cells to be summed. In our case, it is current value. So shift control and the up arrow key, we select up to row 2. Once again, we close the parentheses, we press enter, and we have 19 millions or $19 billion as the value is in $1,000. It's this easy. A couple of comments on SUMIF. First, if the sum range array size is different from the range array size, Excel will anyway match the two sizes and consider the range array size. So let's press F2 to enter the formula once again. You see, this is the sum range and this is the range. This means that we could make the sum range longer, shorter, or even make it one cell and the result wouldn't change. And let's try and do it. We can make it shorter like this, and as you can see, we miss two communication securities. We press enter and we still have 19 millions. And to the extreme, we can go up and select just Apple, and we still get 19 millions. The result will not change as long as you don't change the first cell of the sum range. So as long as you start from cell D2. However, it is good practice to match the two sizes so that you can clearly see which range you're summing. So let me go back with Ctrl Z 2 times until F2. Okay, we're back to the whole range. Second, you do not necessarily need to specify a sum range. And if we go back into the formula and click here, you see that sum range is in square brackets, meaning that the argument is optional. If you do not specify a sum range, the range, this one, will be considered as the sum range. In this specific case, our formula wouldn't work, as the range array is a text array. But let's say that we want to sum all the values greater than $1 billion, for example. Let's do it down here. Rewrite $1 billion to remember what we're doing. And here rewrite once again SUMIF. We open the parentheses, and now the range is the current value. Shift, Control, up, and we go down one cell. Okay, comma, and the criteria is greater than $1 billion. Let's write it in here and pay attention that we need to put a quotation mark as we're including greater than, and therefore we cannot simply put a number without quotation marks. So $1 billion is equal to 1 million, therefore 1 and 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 6 zeros. We close the quotation marks, and now we do not need a sum range. We close the parentheses and we press Enter. We have $262 billion summed. As you see, we specified just one range, which is the range in the SUMIF formula. Third, SUMIF is not case sensitive, meaning that communications with capital C will be the same as communications with lowercase c. As you see, nothing changes, or it would be the same as communications all in capital letters. And finally, like many other Excel functions, SUMIF also works with named ranges. Let's say we call the category column as category. We write it here. And if you do not know how name ranges work, look for an upcoming video on that. We press Enter. Okay. And now down here, let's write it here. We can write SUMIF, and the range is category. So we can once again press the tab key. We select that, as you see, comma, criteria, communications once again, comma, and the sum range is current value. We close the parentheses, we press Enter, and we have once again $19 billion. Let's format that, and we see it is exactly the same number. And this is how SUMIF works. As you could see, with SUMIF you can specify just one criterion. If you need to specify more, then SUMIFS is the function for you. SUMIFS is a newer function compared to SUMIF, but it's been around for more than 10 years by now. SUMIFS is Excel answer to the question, what if I have to sum a range based on 2 or more different criteria? Before the introduction of SUMIFS, you would have had to use another column and the combination of AND and IF functions to support the operation, which would have made your sheet way more complex to read. Let's go back to our database and let's see how SUMIFS works. Let's say that we now want to know how much Warren Buffett invested in communication securities whose company has a headquarters in Great Britain. Let's go down here and let's leave one blank row. We write communications once again, and here we write Great Britain. Okay, and here we write our formula. So SUMIFS, we go down, we select it with the tab key, and it adds automatically the parentheses. And as you see, now as a first input, we need to define the sum range. If you think about it, this is different from SUMIF, where you first had to input the range to be assessed by the criteria. You need to remember this and pay attention when you switch from SUMIF to SUMIFS. Let's note this down and select current value as a sum range. So we go up, Ctrl Shift up, and we select it, comma. Now, as a second input, we need to specify the criteria range. In particular, you see criteria range 1, indicating that there could be more than one. So let's select category, Ctrl Shift down. As you see, we named that category. If we select the whole array, we get once again our name, comma. Now we need to specify the criteria. This works like SUMIF, and let's specify communications, comma. And now we need to add as many criteria range and criteria couples as we need. Be careful that these criteria are additional, not alternative. This means that all of them must be satisfied in order for SUMIFs to sum the values. In our case, we need just another one, which is criteria range, the country column, comma, and the criteria number 2, Great Britain. We can close the parentheses and press enter, and we have $600 million, or 600,000 in the current value. This is how SUMIFS works. Let me highlight another couple of differences between SUMIF and SUMIFS. As we said in the first part of the video, with SUMIF we could omit the sum range, and SUMIF would take the criteria range as range to be summed. With SUMIFS, however, you need to specify both of them, even if they're the same array of cells. As a second and final remark, with SUMIF we saw that we could select a sum range different in size from the criteria range, even if that is not a good practice. Well, forget it with SUMIFs. You can't do that or you will get an error. And this is really all. SUMIF and SUMIFS, two very useful functions to sum a specific range of values. I hope once again that you like this video. As usual, feel free to leave a message in the comment section, and don't forget to hit the subscribe button below if you want to stay up to date with the upcoming videos. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.